The story of Stalingrad begins not with a single battle, but with a decision. In the summer of 1942, Adolf Hitler turned his gaze east again. Germany had failed to crush the Soviet Union the year before, and now Hitler wanted oil, pride, and a symbol. The city on the Volga River bore Stalin's name, Stalingrad, and that alone made it a target. Taking it would cut Soviet supply lines and deliver a psychological blow. To Hitler, it was destiny. The German army advanced confidently. They had conquered much of Europe already. Their soldiers believed this would be another swift victory. But Stalingrad was not like the other cities. By late August, the Luftwaffe darkened the sky. Bombs fell relentlessly. Entire neighborhoods vanished in firestorms. Civilians were killed by the tens of thousands. The city became a skeleton of brick, twisted steel, and ash. Yet those ruins would soon become a weapon against the attackers. When German troops entered the city, they expected collapse. Instead, they met resistance that refused to die. The Soviet defenders, soldiers, factory workers, students, even women, were ordered to hold the city at all costs. Stalin's command was simple and brutal. Not one step back. Retreat meant execution. Fear stood behind them, but something stronger stood in front of them. The river Volga, carrying reinforcements and supplies under constant fire. The fighting changed shape. This was no longer a sweeping war of tanks and open fields. It became a war of rooms, stairwells, basements, and rubble piles. A single factory could change hands 10 times in one day. Soldiers fought face to face, sometimes with knives, sometimes with bare hands. Snipers turned broken windows into death traps. One Soviet sniper, Vasily Zaitsev, became a legend, stalking German officers through the ruins. The Germans called it Rattenkrieg, rat war. Every pile of rubble hid an enemy. Every night, Soviets counterattacked. The city devoured entire units. The German army, trained for rapid movement, was forced into grinding, exhausting combat where its advantages faded away. Autumn turned into winter. As the temperature dropped, the German supply lines stretched thinner. Winter clothing was scarce. Ammunition and food arrived late or not at all. Meanwhile, Soviet factories inside the city, some still operating under fire, continued to produce weapons. Then, in November 1942, while the Germans focused on taking the last scraps of the city, the Soviets struck back. They did not attack the strongest German forces in Stalingrad. Instead, they attacked the weaker flanks, guarded by Romanian and Hungarian troops. In a massive, coordinated counteroffensive called Operation Uranus, Soviet armies punched through, racing across the frozen steppe. Within days, the trap closed. The German Sixth Army, over 250,000 men, was encircled. Hitler forbade retreat. He promised supplies by air. The promise was a lie. The Luftwaffe could not deliver what was needed. Hunger set in. Frostbite claimed limbs. Wounded men froze to death. Horses were eaten. Then dogs. Then anything that could be swallowed. The Soviets tightened the ring. January 1943 arrived like an executioner. Soviet artillery pounded the shrinking pocket day and night. Buildings collapsed onto the living and the dead alike. January 1943 arrived like an executioner. Soviet artillery pounded the shrinking pocket day and night. Buildings collapsed onto the living and the dead alike. German soldiers hid in cellars, wrapped in rags, barely able to lift their rifles. Still, Hitler demanded they fight. Finally, on February 2, 1943, what remained of the Sixth Army surrendered. It was the first complete destruction of a German field army in the war. The cost was almost beyond comprehension. Over 2 million casualties, dead, wounded, or captured, soldiers and civilians combined. The city was almost entirely destroyed. The Volga ran past ruins that no longer looked like a city at all.